Hey everybody, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I have with me investor, founder, and author Ron Bauer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And today we're going to talk about how to raise capital in a digital world. Of course, the pandemic has caused everybody to shift everything online. This would also include raising money, where I remember back in the day, I used to show up to networking events and shake the hands of influential investors and try to catch them in the elevator for that old elevator pitch. But things have changed, right? So tell me what your side of the story is in terms of what you've seen happen in the past couple of years from traditional fundraising into the way it is now.
I've seen the business transform literally, overnight during the pandemic. Whereas before you would you'd set up a meeting, you'd fly in, meet someone, you'd do a road show. Let's say you were doing a pre-IPO raise or a capital raise for your company. You would go and you'd either retain a broker or a banker, or maybe you'd cold call people yourself, and you'd set up a roadshow and you'd go and meet people, and you'd have 4 or 5 meetings a day, and maybe you'd visit 4 or 5 cities. So you'd knock out 20, 30 meetings over a 2-week period. What happened during the pandemic is you just couldn't meet people, and people didn't want to meet you. So all these virtual platforms started appearing, like Zoom and Teams and Google Meets, these solutions that were meant really for meetings in companies. They were now being used by bankers and brokers and hedge funds to set up investor roadshows. And so during the pandemic, I conducted a number of IPO roadshows through Zoom, and
wow.
It was fantastic. The CEO of the company could basically do 8 meetings a day. They could knock out 50 meetings, 40 to 50 meetings in a week, what would normally take you a month to do in the pre-pandemic era. Now you could do it a lot quicker, during the pandemic. And what happened is that people also didn't want to meet you. These investors and institutions, they have a wife or husband, kids, parents, friends. They don't want someone traveling from the other side of the world after being on a plane with 400 people, and people are coughing and everyone's sick, coming in their office now and coughing and shaking their hands and getting them sick. And now, they're out of commission for a week or two, and it's like a snowball effect.
Well, it's all very time consuming too. I mean, at one point in time, I was raising money for a startup, and I remember doing what you said, having to travel around, pull out the pitch, do the PowerPoint on the wall, and stand in front of a room. Now you can just do the PowerPoint, share your screen while you're talking to them, and it seems like it's just a lot more effective. And like you said, you could knock out 8 meetings in a short period of time. So that seems like a really good thing. But is there a downside to this whole thing?
Yeah, the downside is always you lose the personal touch, and some people say, okay, it's impersonal. I miss the days when I would go now and I would take someone out for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner, and I would bond with them, and I would have that personal relationship and something that happened. And and the flip side of that is sometimes someone wants to invest in your company and you have them, and now you go out to lunch and you say something you weren't supposed to say, and they're like,
right.
Hold on a second, maybe I made a mistake and I don't want to invest. So there's the good side and the bad side. And at the end of the day, I think being able to conduct virtual roadshows, virtual capital raises, and see multiple people, you can kiss a lot more frogs virtually than you can physically face to face. So I think you have more shots on goal by doing it that way. It just makes it a little bit more, a little easier to raise capital, and it opens up. It also allows you to be in 4 countries or 10 cities in one day, where you just can't do that. It's virtually impossible.
Yep, I agree. So let's talk about entrepreneurs who are watching or listening to this, and they have an idea, right? And everybody out there sees the news of, this company raises $100 million and this company sold to this company for $1 billion. And they see these big numbers and they think their idea is the next big one. But the reality is, we know it's a very, very, very small percentage of startups that raise money and or exit. What is your advice to someone listening on how they can take their idea, launch the startup, and then raise money from there? What are the key takeaways?
Key takeaways that I have, I tell people always have a roadmap or a plan in place. Make sure, be focused. I tell people, be really good at one thing. Don't try and be, a jack of all trade, master of nothing. It's better for you to be really good at one thing. You can always fill in the missing part. So have a plan, have a roadmap. know, who your audience is, what you're, focus on small wins rather than, try to hit lots of singles and doubles rather than
Yeah.
swing for the fences. That's what I tell people. So, start with a proof, create something that you think that you're really good at and that works. Go through a proof of concept, get someone to pay for what you're selling or what you're providing. And then you can always, scale it up and amplify it on a bigger scale. Too many people, they right away, everybody wants to have, a massive, huge success, swing for the fences, and then they just, they fall on their face. And so you want to crawl before you walk. You want to walk before you run.
Now
And
let's say there's a consumer app, because there's a lot of people out there building, maybe they don't have a product for sale, but they have an app they built or a new platform. What would you consider to be what an investor would find enticing to them in terms of a user base? Is that still a thing? I mean, I know back in the day it was...
Totally a thing. I mean, I have a deal right now. It's a SaaS platform, fintech SaaS platform. They've got 3,000 users in their proof of concept. And I said to the guy, I said, look, give it away for free for a year. He switched his business model from B2C to B2B. So he's focusing on companies now that have, call it, anywhere from 100 to 50,000 employees. That's a sort of sweet spot. I said, give it to them free for a year, get them used to the product, do like a freemium model where it just, they're reliant on what you're providing. They like using it. And even if only 10% of the people stay on afterwards, it's still a big win for you. Like, for example, if you're charging people $4 a month, which is, let's say, even you discount it to $40 a year, and you have 1 million people using it for free, and then all of a sudden you might only have 100,000 people paying you that's still good money. It's still good revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. So what if you're not a freemium? What if you are just like a consumer, like not B2B, but like consumer based app? Like, let's say like a new Snapchat or TikTok or some kind of new consumer app that could potentially really go big, but it's all about that user base. Is that something that still entices investors? And so how would a founder get out there and pitch investors on something like that?
I think the most important thing, first of all, is to create a buzz around your business. So it's very important for you. I tell people to have a massive social media presence. I say it's really important for you to set up, the key channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, build a presence, find a way to grow an audience, build a community around you. And then you have that community to go and market to first. Market to your community first and keep growing it and enhancing it. Use influencers, it's a valid way. Find people that are, lead authorities or experts in your area and get them on board. Have them in there, and then go to your community, get people putting up reviews. You need to be creative and bootstrap. I think it's, people need to come up with, a sophisticated and innovative guerrilla marketing tactics if you don't have the capital. And I think what investors like is they want to see people that are creative, that are dynamic, that are disruptive, and that are thinking outside of the box. That's really what I look for. I look for that myself, and I know everyone else is looking for it.
I agree 100%. Yeah, the community aspect of a startup, it's like, well, we have 100,000 followers on Instagram. They like what we're doing, so maybe you should invest. How do you protect your idea if you are doing that? Because now you're putting out videos, you're putting out content, you're letting people see what you do before you raise money, where another company might have 100 million in the bank and they can just, knock you off real quick. How do you protect yourself?
I mean, I tell people always that, if you have something that is tangible or that has value, find a way to patent it or to trademark it. You need to go and speak right away. I tell people right away, when you have an idea, go and spend the money. You'd be surprised. So many people go and have this amazing idea, and then they go and they launch a business, and then they realize, oh, someone else has filed a trademark or a patent on it, and now I've got to change the name of my company, or I got to change what I'm doing. And so go and pay. It's like a couple grand today to pay a trademark and patent attorney to see if there's a way for you, and then you can pay them even a little bit more to actually write the patent application for you and trademark it. I think that's vital. Your first stop and your first shop that you should visit should be an amazing, trademark and patent attorney at the same time of when you're incorporating your company.
I agree. We trademarked our startup before we even launched because we wanted to make sure we had the name So that was important for us. Now, raising money is always difficult and time consuming for founders, especially when they're trying to build a product. What are some of the methodologies or the tactics that you would say are best suited for entrepreneurs to even get a hold of investors in the first place? Because a lot of these investors have websites that say, sure, pitch us your idea, but they're getting 1,000 a day and they're probably not going to listen to you. So I know you need a connection to talk to them, but what if you don't have any connections? How do you get a hold of these people?
I think you can just cold call people and email them. When I was younger and I started out in business, don't be afraid of rejection. If you're going to, for 9 times you're going to get rejected, you're going to have one person say yes and give you a meeting. And that meeting, if you call 100 people and you have 10 meetings, you'll close 1 or 2 of them. It's just, Murphy's Law. And so I think it's really important you as a founder of a company, you need to always be raising money and always be selling. So you've got to be out there pitching yourself, selling yourself, looking for capital for your company in every way, in every manner, whether it's emailing, portals, whether it's going to investment clubs, whether it's pitching hedge funds, whether it's figuring out who else is in your space, in your sector, on PitchBook or on Crunchbase, and figuring out, who's investing and who's writing checks today, and go to those people and say, this is what sets us apart and makes us different. We know you invested in the sector. And they might say, you know what, we only have room for 1 company in that sector. Thank you very much. And that's okay. But, they might say, oh, we love this sector and we'd love to meet with you. And then now you have an opportunity there. So I think it's really important to always be selling and always be raising money for your business, even when you have money. The best time, actually, I tell this, the best time to raise money is right after you've raised money, because people always want something that they can't have. So if you've just closed a $2, $3, $4, $5 million round, like we did an IPO for one of my portfolio companies. We raised $27.6 million in the IPO. Wow. The company was loaded with cash. They had like 23 in the bank after fees and everything. And the stock went bananas. And we were offered another 30.6 million. And my partner said, don't take the money. What are you, crazy? And I said to the management, to the CEO, I said, you'll remember this day, okay? Because the day will come. Right now, the market loves you and you're a hero, but you will be a zero and you will fall out of favor. And better for you to fall out of favor with $50 million in the bank rather than $24 million in the bank.
Sure.
And so we took the money, and then all of a sudden warrants converted for another 11 million. So now this company raised close to $70 million within a couple of months of its IPO. Today, and look, fast forward 14 months, we're in one of the shittiest economies right now.
Yes, we are.
And this guy's sitting on $40 million cash, and most companies in his place are sitting on $40
struggling.
Cash.
Yeah.
So he's, a hero all of a sudden.
That's amazing. That's a great story. And I always tell people fundraising is a nonstop thing too. You raise, say, a seed round of 500,000, you should immediately looking for that Series A of 3 to 5 million right after, because you're going to be having a burn rate too. You're going to be running out of money. You need to be forecasting ahead of time. So I totally agree. Now, you mentioned something else that was interesting to me. You mentioned that this was before. You said something about being an expert in the industry that you're in, or learning more about it, and maybe your competitors. Give me a little bit more information about that. How does a founder really understand their market, their industry, and learn about their competitors besides just a simple Google search?
Yeah, but I mean, I think, for example, so let's say what I meant to say is that if you're a scientist, if you worked in a lab at a university as an academic for 10 years and you're looking for the cure for cancer, and you've got this new innovative, technology, whether it's a CAR T or whatever type of technology, and that's your specialty, and you want to set up a business around that, don't be afraid to go and set that business up and be the CEO. You can find a CFO, you can find a COO, you can find people to do the roles that you don't understand. And finding competitors and finding, it's easy to do research today. When I started in this business, the internet, it was I didn't have an email address, and the internet didn't exist until I was in university. Yeah, and then the capabilities of finding information in the internet when I started in this business 20 years ago was way different than it is today. Today you have so much information at your fingertips between things like PitchBook, Apollo, etc. All these information portals where you can go and type in a few keywords. I can type in now founder fintech Philadelphia or whatever, New York and whatever, and all of a sudden 2,000 names pop up with their email, their website, their address, how much money they raised, who were their investors. I mean, you can do research. Insane. It's insane, right? The technology that's out there that did not exist, the data driven capabilities.
That's a good point. So tell us how we can find out more about what you do and your business and how people can reach out to you.
You can go to my website, www.thescapital.com. You can go to my socials. You can reach out to me on social media. My Instagram's, at Ron Bauer 888. It's the same handle for my Twitter as well and my TikTok. And, I'm happy for founders and disruptors to reach out to me off my website, and someone from my team will get in contact, and we'd love to hear great ideas and help founders and help entrepreneurs out.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ron, for coming. Appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next episode.